Hello everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. General Hospital, Drew tells Michael not to accept his offer of Willow's visitation. According to General Hospital spoilers, Willow Tate might receive a visitation offer from Michael Corinthos, but Drew Kane would probably tell her not to accept it. It is true that Drew will issue a warning to Willow during the week of July 7th to 11th. We'll see Drew provide some warnings and possibly attempt to scuttle whatever deal Willow could reach with Michael. But Willow is eager to see Wiley and Amelia Corinthos as soon as possible, and the longer she is apart from her children, the more amenable she will be to compromise. Michael's position appears to be changing, despite his initial plan to postpone the visitation hearing and ensure Willow received nothing in the end. When Wiley protested about the judge and said he wanted to see his mother right away on the July 3rd episode, Michael appeared devastated. Michael might at least be prepared to try, but there's no assurance that he and Willow will be able to come to an agreement. It appears that Michael and Willow will arrange a rendezvous, which Drew finds objectionable. It's obvious that Drew wants to dominate Willow, therefore he won't appreciate it if she gives in to any of Michael's requests. This is particularly relevant given that Michael believes Drew is the genuine issue. After Willow receives a warning from Drew, it appears like she will still meet Michael. Michael might insist that they have a private discussion about what's really best for their kids, which is having both of their parents around. Nevertheless, anything that could hurt Wiley and Amelia, including Drew's manipulating techniques, will not be tolerated by Michael. Michael may still find Willow's marriage to Drew to be a deal-breaker. According to GH spoilers, Michael will explain his demands in the episode that airs on July 10th. It seems that Michael will present his side of the possible deal and let Willow determine if she can compromise. Michael could at least insist on a postponement of the wedding even if Willow is unwilling to cancel it. Michael may persuade Willow to put the marriage idea on hold for the time being, arguing that there are already too many changes for the kids. Naturally, Michael can also stipulate that Willow must not have Drew present during any visits she may have with Amelia and Wiley. In order to ensure Drew stays as far away as possible, Michael might wish to oversee these visits. Willow and Michael might make a bargain, but Drew might wind up ruining everything. Whenever Michael and Willow try to prioritize the kids, Drew seems to follow that trend. Furthermore, Jen Sidwell's bribery of Judge Eva Heron must eventually be revealed. Keep an eye out for any shocking news that may surface because that might blow up the custody dispute all over again. According to General Hospital spoilers, the plot between Willow, Michael, and Drew will eventually become even more complicated. General Hospital spoilers, Laura is replaced as mayor by Ezra Boyle, who tampers with the election. According to General Hospital spoilers, the battle for mayor of Port Charles is intensifying, and given Ezra Boyle's dubious character, it's difficult to avoid believing he'll do something nefarious to win. Laura Collins and Lulu Spencer spoke during the most recent episode. Lulu was worried about her mother's potential drop in the polls as a result of the mob scandal involving Sonny Corinthos. To ensure her victory over Ezra, Lulu urged Laura to take a slightly more active approach to the situation by speaking out against Sonny. Ezra being mayor is the last thing that Lulu or any of the PC heroes desire. Having said that, a lot of people have praised Laura for her excellent work as mayor of Port Charles, and if her popularity among some of the soap opera's most prominent characters is any sign of her prospects of winning this election, then she's got it, right? Nevertheless, viewers are unable to get rid of the feeling that a plot twist is imminent because this is the country of daytime drama. Although Laura winning the election would be a fantastic conclusion to this plot, many of the fan favorites on Canvas, such as Sonny and Tracy Quartermaine, would be in disarray if Ezra were elected mayor. It's difficult to avoid the suspicion that Ezra and fellow slimeball Drew Kane will become desperate and devise a scheme to rig the PC election. They will do whatever it takes to forward their plans to force Sonny out of town, and given Drew's wealth and influence as well as Ezra's experience as a professional politician, there's a strong possibility that they will devise a plan to sweep the city election. In order to help Ezra win the mayoral election, Jen Sidwell might also become involved and possibly get another stylish WSB gadget. Ezra and Drew's plan might succeed without any problems, whether they involve tampering with the voting machines or perhaps placing ballots in the boxes. Laura will be surprised because surveys before the big night might have shown that she was comfortably ahead, but as many people are aware, polls are frequently deceptive, so her worries could be dismissed with ease. According to General Hospital spoilers, a major plot point may be approaching when Ezra, Drew, and Sidwell seize control of Port Charles, leaving Laura in shock and unsure of what to do next. The good folks might band together to support Laura, and someone might save her and start an investigation, but would it be too late? Lies, vows, and fire. Carly's risky plan to save sunny Port Charles was on fire, both literally and figuratively. Both the explosive aftershocks of the penthouse explosion that almost killed Michael Corinthos and the ashes of Charlie's pub continued to burn. The actual struggle, encased in whispers, fashioned in legal tactics, and based on decades of twisted loyalties, was taking shape behind the scenes as Sonny Corinthos scoured shadows for the next threat. Carly Spencer stood in the center of it all, willing to burn herself alive to save the man she had loved, and possibly still loved. The beginning of the end, or something more over the years, Carly had seen many incarnations of Sonny, the devastated father, the ruthless kingpin, the brooding guardian. However, this version, the one that was still in shock at Natalia Ramirez's public breakdown and unexplained death, felt different. They were hunting him. In a corner. Not only by adversaries in the background, but also by forces in the light. Jen Sidwell's well-thought-out strategies to destroy all Sonny-owned and ADA Justine Turner's unrelenting legal siege. The final match to be thrown on a powder keg had been Natalia's death. Although her dramatic outburst during Daisy Gilmore's christening had already garnered attention, her passing made rumors into news stories. Now Sidwell had momentum and Turner had fuel for her fire. What about Carly? Sonny was hers. Once more. The empire on edge in Natalia's death. Sonny never thought Natalia would lose it. For her, he had planned a well-thought-out escape from Port Charles, a sophisticated exile with enough benefits to keep her quiet and obedient. He was unable to foresee her mounting anger and spiraling remorse, though. Or the fact that, in front of almost everyone who mattered in Port Charles, she would crash Daisy's christening while intoxicated and yell accusations. Natalia was discovered dead in a hotel room 2 nights later. Open the pill bottle. Vodka remains optimistic. It didn't matter if it was a suicide or an accident. The consequences were immediate. Turner pushed for fresh subpoenas right away. It was evidence of manipulation and compulsion, she said. Meanwhile, Sonny had silenced another menace, Sidwell confided to his allies. Carly realized then that Sonny would need assistance to survive what was about to happen. Now for the fake marriage plot, again, Diane Miller informed her the night Carly raised the subject, "You've done this before. And it has been successful." By technical means. Technically, Carly inquired. Well, it didn't kill anyone, Diane stated sardonically. But this time was different from the others. This time, Carly had something to lose, so she wasn't just acting like she loved Sonny. Or someone. Brennan, Jack. For once, she was forced to consider a life outside of custody disputes, mob fights, and judicial mayhem by the WSB head, who had somehow softened her reluctance. But in Port Charles, love was never easy. And allegiance? It was a unique type of marriage. A wedding to win a war. Remarrying Sonny was the basic idea behind the plot. To keep Avery safe, present it as a family-oriented reunion. Put up a unified front against Sidwell's propaganda and Turner's accusations. The wife and husband are defending their daughter. The picture of happiness at home. They would stand hand in hand on the courtroom steps, Carly's attire modest but lovely, and she could already picture the press release, local businessman and former wife remarry for the sake of family amid legal and community turmoil. Sonny without a tie in a gray suit. Seems to be a man attempting to please his family. It was outstanding. Cynical. Manipulative. Port Charles was the location. The Brennan issue, however, Jack was present. Brennan, Jack. Despite his stern demeanor and years of spying, the WSB chief had fallen in love with Carly Spencer. Although he hadn't stated it out loud yet, there was no question in his eyes as he gazed at her. And this was something he would never comprehend. Not entirely. Because the one thing Jack didn't understand about Carly, Port Charles, or Sonny was that in this situation, reason didn't prevail. Loyalty did. Absolute, sometimes sacrificial, sometimes toxic. How could she explain that a fictitious marriage was customary and not a betrayal? Carly's resolve, Sunny's reluctance. Carly anticipated opposition when she confronted Sunny about the fictitious marriage. His quiet caught her off guard. "You don't believe it will succeed?" After a beat, she asked. Unreadable, he gazed at her. "It will work. If it isn't the issue, what is?" "You." She hesitated at that. Sunny remarked, "I don't want you to do this for me. No longer. You have a life of your own. Carly, you're not my fixer." "No," she replied, "you are not my shield." The phrase "I'm your family" lingered between them. Family. The explanation for why they kept coming back to one another. It wasn't romantic. Not because it was simple. However, it was survival. Turner smells blood. Justine Turner was already planning her next move at the DA's office. The passing of Natalia gave her access to opportunities she was unaware of. A judge with compassion for Natalia's last moments. Witnesses are suddenly open to speaking. Financial documents that include Sunny's signature and reveal hush money. But a wedding? The game might be altered by that. Juries detested splitting up families. A daughter stuck in the middle of a recently reunited couple? It was challenging to demolish that myth. Unless Turner was able to show it was a hoax. She reported it for WSB Review right away. Anna Devane was drawn in. She said to her squad, "Let's see what Carly is really up to." Anna's concerned Commissioner Anna Devane didn't like any of it, saying, "Because if this is a lie, we'll bury them with it." Charlie's pub was firebombed. The death of Natalia. And this now? An unexpected union? Under the pretense of a usual follow-up, she met with Carly. After 20 minutes of dancing around the actual subject, Anna finally got to the point. "You're getting married again, Sunny?" Anna folded her hands and asked. Carly grinned a little. "Is that against the law now?" "No," replied Anna. "However, it is suspicious." "What is this place lacking?" Anna fixed her with her gaze. "Don't do anything dumb." "I never do," Carly remarked as she got up to go. She was not stopped by Anna. She did, however, pick up her phone. Meanwhile, Sidwell steps in. Jen Sidwell was already planning his next attack while the Corinthos world frantically tried to contain the damage. He was indifferent to widows in mourning or weddings. The docks were important to him. Concerning land. Additionally, Sunny's empire was collapsing. Natalia had served as a helpful diversion. She was gone now. There was a message from Charlie's pub. But not loud enough. He wants to burn the entire map now. Alarming signs and wedding bells. The wedding date was kept a secret. The documents were filed by Diane. The media received a well-timed leak. Suddenly, Port Charles was buzzing with the unthinkable. Sunny and Carly. Reunited. For family, for love. Or perhaps only for war. A WSB intelligence report told Jack Brennan. He didn't give Carly a call. He didn't have to. His silence was like a knife to her. There were no flowers on the wedding day. No visitors. Nothing fancy. Sunny, Carly, Diane, and a judge alone in a courthouse room they borrowed. With precision, Sunny recited his vows. Carly with conviction. It was a show. But in a sense that only Port Charles could comprehend, it was real. Diane gave the license to him. "What a great job," she said. "You've just made yourself impervious to harm. As of right now, what happens next?" Carly was aware that the marriage would not permanently stop Turner. Or Sidwell. Or Jack's disillusionment. However, it bought time. It's time to keep Avery safe. It's time for Sunny to leave the cell. It's time to make plans. As the cameras outside flashed, she stood next to her new old spouse. Sometimes starting a storm was the only way to survive one in Port Charles's pandemonium. And the fuse had just been lighted by Carly Spencer. To be continued. Maxie's breakdown, Natalia's lies, deception's dirty secrets, and a trail of missing millions. Maxie Jones had experienced scandals in the past, most of them with a deadline looming over her and mascara smudged across her face. But despite all the chaos she had witnessed in Port Charles over the years, nothing came close to what she was about to discover. Brooklyn Quartermain's hushed warning evolved into a bombshell that threatened to completely destroy Deception Cosmetics. Even though she was dead and buried, Natalia Ramirez was going to make her voice heard. A flash drive and a funeral. At first, Brooklyn wasn't certain that Natalia was real. Indeed, the mother was unstable. At Daisy Gilmore Corinthos' christening, everyone witnessed her crumble. By then, she should have left. From Port Charles. From their life. However, Natalia had one final move to make before her spectacular departure, and it took the shape of a flash drive that she refused to give up and a mysterious warning. Sonny Corinthos' second investment in deception wasn't pure, she informed Brooklyn. Told her to keep an eye on herself. Informed her that there was evidence. She then informed Sonny that the proof was securely stored in a deposit box and that she had not given it to acting DA Justine Turner. Locked. Concealed. Just in case. Brooklyn's guilt. Brooklyn was consumed by thoughts about it. Prior to Natalia's death in her hotel room. Alcohol, pills, and a final confession that lingers like perfume. Her husband, her sounding board, and the person she trusted the most, Chase, was the person she attempted to inform. She went to Maxie, but the chapel was no place to discuss corruption, and he was already restrained, whispering to Turner about evidence and laundering. They got together late at night at the Deception headquarters, which were disturbingly quiet without the typical bustle of assistants and designers. Already worn out from attempting to salvage the company's newest line, Maxie listened with increasing alarm as Brooklyn explained everything. Natalia claimed that the books were prepared. Maxie gripped her coffee and inquired. Brooklyn gave a nod. She stated that Sonny's second investment wasn't tidy. I understand your thoughts, but she didn't appear intoxicated when she informed me. Sonny isn't careless, Maxie whispered. We wouldn't be aware of his filth. Brooklyn leaned forward. That's what frightens me. What if he wasn't involved? Creative accounting and unforgivable numbers. Maxie was a Jones, but she wasn't one to rush into conspiracy theories. Additionally, Joneses showed sound judgment, particularly when money vanished. She retrieved the accounting records for the previous 6 quarters the following day. She went straight into every ledger, deposit, and petty cash receipt rather than merely skimming them. Her stomach dropped as she discovered what she had. Oh my! No, Maxie muttered, putting her palm to her lips. Discrepancies existed. Uncertain departments shifted thousands of dollars. Duplicated invoices were later removed. Several payment traces that were inconsistent with the names of the suppliers. Worst of all, there was no money. Not merely a few. A great deal. Maxie shut down her computer and gazed off into the distance. Someone had used deceit to launder money. It wasn't concealed. I didn't miscount it. Laundered it. And for months, it had been taking place. Natalia's signature. The pattern was obvious once it was identified. Natalia's employment credentials, which had not been used for more than a month, were used to password protect the files. She either stayed in the system all her life, or someone carried on laundering covertly by using her digital shadow. Maxie combed over the data once more. Timestamps. Logs of access. Names of accounts. She flipped to the latest strange transaction, her fingers shaking. 2 days prior to Natalia's passing, it was dated. Sonny Corinthos wasn't innocent, despite what Maxie would have you believe. However, he wasn't this filthy. He didn't use modeling campaigns to channel mob money or conceal cash in lipstick bills. Yes, his hands were bleeding, but they weren't clutching a business checkbook. Maxie was aware that Sonny was unconcerned about makeup because she knew him well enough. When the goods arrived in his bathroom, he hardly endured them. If Natalia was correct, then Sonny wasn't the reason the second investment was shady. It was because someone covered their tracks by using Sunny's investment. Maxie didn't have time to doubt herself, so Spinelli stepped in. She texted once. "Maxie, please assist me. It has to do with deceit." "Where and when, Spinelli?" An hour later, Damien Spinelli sat in the office with his laptop open, his eyes wide with worry, and his wires intertwined like spaghetti. With Maxie hovering close by, he labored in silence. He leaned back and whistled softly at midnight. "This was intentional," Spinelli stated. "Routing that is encrypted. Proxies with layers." However, who was responsible for this? "They were amateurs, not pros," Maxie inquired. "Clumsy," Spinelli clarified. "And they were avaricious. This may have been initiated by Natalia. However, she wasn't the only one who knew." Maxie's blood froze. "You mean she had assistance?" Spinelli nodded gravely at her. "And I believe she was attempting to escape. A covert co-conspirator." The new assumption quickly came to light. Natalia had either been coerced into initiating the laundering or voluntarily participated in it. She eventually turned against the procedure, though. She created the flash drive for that reason. She issued warnings for this reason. What caused her to crash the christening? The reason behind her death. Maxie muttered. She was cleaning up a mess she helped make. "And that didn't sit well with anyone," Spinelli remarked glumly. To display Maxie the latest activities prior to Natalia's passing, he rotated his screen. A login from the main office of deception. Late in the evening. After business hours. From a terminal, in the former office of Brooklyn. Maxie's heart is sinking. Is Brooklyn at fault? The idea sickened Maxie. She had spent her whole life with Brooklyn. They have been friends, foes, allies, and rivals in a complex relationship. Brooklyn, however, would not steal. Would she? No. Unless she was inexperienced, that is. Could someone else utilize her system in her place? Spinelli was asked by Maxie. With ease, he answered. Especially if Natalia knew the layout. Or if someone else did. Maxie was unsure which was more frightening, the thought that Brooklyn had assisted Natalia. Or that there was yet another person working in the shadows inside deception. Damage control or destruction. Maxie and Spinelli constructed a covert duplicate of the financial catastrophe by cloning the tainted accounts. Not yet, no one could see what they were doing. Tracy Quartermain creeping around was the last thing Maxie wanted. Not until she realized the extent of the rot. She just sent one message to Brooklyn. Maxie, we must get together. By themselves. This evening. Maxie accosted her in the park where they usually congregate after hours. I located the money, she declared bluntly. Brooklyn went pallid. You believe I know, Maxie interrupted. However, it appears like someone used your office. I also need to know who was able to get in. You trusted them. Who was Natalia close to? Brooklyn, obviously shaken, ran a hand through her hair. I once gave Natalia access to my login. When the server failed. I never imagined. I had no idea, she tricked us, Maxie muttered. She cleaned money by using deceit. And now she's dead. Brooklyn gave her a horrified look. How will we proceed? Maxie's promise. We fix it. Maxie promised herself more than anybody else. Silently. Astutely. Before a single number appears to Tracy. Prior to Turner obtaining the books. Prior to the entire business collapsing. Brooklyn nodded. And if there's still another person in the system, Maxie stated, then we flush them out. And we don't let them touch deception ever again. Endgame, what Maxie has to lose. Maxie Jones has suffered a loss. Nathan was lost. Georgie was lost. Too many lost futures and dreams to list. However, she had no intention of losing deception. Not to Natalia. Not to another person who would use her as a shield. Not when she at last had a team she liked, a business she helped start, and a future worth pursuing. And what if a conflict broke out because of the truth hidden on Natalia's flash drive? Maxie would then put an end to it. Spoilers, will Joe's familial ties be broken by Rocco? As Brooklyn Quartermain investigates Rocco Falconeri's birth in an attempt to find evidence of Britt Westbourne's theft of her embryo to use against Lulu Spencer in a savage tit-for-tat revenge plot, General Hospital spoilers indicate that the atmosphere in the Quartermain home is heavy with retaliation. After Lulu unintentionally revealed Giovanni Gio Palmieri as her and Dante Falconeri's kid at the nurse's ball, Brooklyn becomes enraged and uses Rocco's background as a weapon. Will Rocco experience the same suffering Gio had, though, causing the Falconeri and Quartermain families to become apart, if he finds out about this probe? Would Brooklyn's personal grudge ruin her opportunity to become close to Gio? Family fallout could result from Brooklyn's revenge. Brooklyn wants to drag Lulu over the coals by telling everyone, including Rocco, what actually occurred with Britt all those years ago. We believed we knew everything. I doubt it. Brooklyn would enjoy making her appear less important to Dante. She is broken and unable to see the repercussions of her own acts because of Lois and Gloria Cerullo's secrecy. Isn't it typical of Brooklyn? The truth about his birth could destroy Rocco's trust and cause him to feel as wounded as Gio did if he learns this news or sees the file that bears his name and that Brooklyn didn't do a good job of protecting. Will Brooklyn's attempt to harm Lulu cause the family to fall apart and she will be held accountable, or will she be able to stop it before it's too late? Bonds could be broken by Rocco's pain. Rocco is already having a hard time getting by. He hasn't really recovered from the series of events that followed the death of his bonus mom, Sam McCall, including a near-fatal drinking incident. Rocco is thrilled to have a brother who is linked by blood and Gio, but he is also emotionally tired. Similar to Joe's battle with his own adoption reality, Rocco's finding might cause him to become estranged from Dante and Lulu if Brooklyn's investigation spills. Gio might grow more distant as a result of this, seeing Brooklyn's acts to be treacherous. Will Dante, who is still angry with Lulu, support Rocco or turn on Brooklyn and ruin her chances of getting close to Gio if he finds out about her plan? A vendetta that costs everything. With Joe's brittle confidence at risk, Brooklyn's retaliation could destroy any bridge between them. Tracy Quartermain might criticize Brooklyn's carelessness while still supporting her, of course, if Rocco's suffering causes the family to fall apart. While some GH fans believe Gio deserves better and are hoping he gets it in some way, others believe Brooklyn is burying herself. Will any hopes of a family relationship with Gio be dashed by the secrets surrounding Rocco's birth? Can Brooklyn change her mind before it ruins her chances of being a mother to him? A custody war driven by love, manipulation, and one desperate choice. Michael's offer. Willow's dilemma. Port Charles had seen its share of family conflicts and custody disasters, but the conflict over Wiley and Amelia Corinthos was turning into something far more intense and personal. Michael Corinthos, a man divided between justice and heartache, stood in the middle. Willow Tate, on the other hand, is struggling for her voice in a relationship that is becoming more and more oppressive, in addition to her rights as a mother. And Drew Kane in the shadows. Observing. Caution. Pressing. Awaiting to obliterate every route to tranquility. A child's anguish, a father's reluctance. Ever after the accident, Michael had trouble crying. Not after months of recuperation were robbed by the penthouse explosion, which left him with physical and psychological scars. However, he was unprepared for Wiley's inquiry that evening. Why is the judge denying me access to mommy? Michael was unable to respond. Weeks have passed since he made his decision. He kept Willow away when the court gave him full custody of both Wiley and Amelia, not as payback, he assured himself, but rather to shield the kids from instability, bewilderment, and more disruption. After all, she had decided to wed Drew, the guy Michael accused of betraying their family and of controlling Willow at the most vulnerable time in her life. However, witnessing Wiley sobbing while holding onto his mother's photo as if it were a lifeline? Something inside Michael was broken by that. And he paused for the first time in weeks. The offer, an emotionally charged deal. Michael did not arrange the meeting. It wasn't planned out or practiced. It was neither a bargaining table with attorneys gathered around it nor a courtroom battle. In Rice Square, it was a park bench. Willow was the first to arrive. She appeared worn out, as if mourning were an additional coat she wore over her skin. However, she also had a gleam in her eyes. A glimmer of hope. Her breath caught as she said, "You called me." "You wish to speak?" Michael gave a nod. They sat in silence for a few seconds before saying, "I don't know what I'm doing anymore." The kind of quiet between them that was once familiar. There was no longer that kind of stillness. Instead, it was laced with caution. "I'm sorry." The ghosts of unspoken things. Willow muttered, "I heard what Wiley told Sasha." Michael massaged his temples and said, "He's asking questions." Indeed. It only took saying, "He's hurting." "I am too." One admission. One confession. Then all of a sudden Michael was opening a door that he had promised to keep closed. "I'm not saying I'm giving in," he gently explained to her. "However, I'm amenable to visits under supervision. Just, without Drew." "Not right now." Willow didn't even flinch. "Not while things are still raw." "All right." Michael was astonished. Just like that, Willow didn't immediately tell Drew, "I miss my kids more than I need to win an argument, Michael." Drew's interference, a warning she doesn't want that night, she went home, sat by herself in Amelia's nursery, and fiddled with her engagement ring until it felt strange on her finger. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, so please don't forget to subscribe my channel and don't miss any update.